life. I don't trust you no more. And I can't give my heart to you ever again if I don't believe that I can trust you.
Hey guys, hi YouTube, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to react to a news a couple months ago where Tina Campbell of Mary Mary, their gospel group, came out, or it was all over the news that the husband had filed for divorce. A lot of people on social media went crazy and they were like, it's a matter of time. This should have happened years ago, but it should have happened where she was the one filing. So if you know, a couple years ago, Tina Campbell and her husband were on the news because the husband had been cheating on her, and he cheated on her with multiple women. And I remember on the show, they had a reality show, and she was asking him like how many women were there, and he couldn't even count it. That's how many it was, you know. And they went through a really bad stage where she was really getting mad. She was like, I'm about to slash some tires and do all this, and people were like, oh my gosh, she's worked up. Oh, she's about to leave, like, forget this dude, he better watch out. And then a couple years in, we find out that they went back together, and they even did a vow renewal. So it's kind of interesting because the sister is also doing a vow renewal with the husband, but there is for their marriage and all that, but for her it's like, okay, she just had a divorce, what the hell. But anyway, yeah, we were all expecting her to just walk away, because this guy really had showed Tina over the years that he did not want her. He showed all the signs. There was something about this guy where she was all over here worked up and doing all this, and I could see his face. He looked like somebody who was just like, okay, here we go again. When you watch the reality shows, I know it's for entertainment, there's something about Tina that comes off kind of aggressive. Sometimes I look at the husband and I saw him kind of like a little boy that was being told what to do. It felt like Tina sometimes overpowered him, and he would just kind of sit back, and he was kind of like, okay, you're going to yell at me and do all this stuff with me. I'm just going to go ahead and do my stuff. So I feel like maybe he was already fed up in some way in the marriage. He didn't want to be in it. But I feel like they were hanging on maybe for show. If you watch the reality show, there's also moments where they mention how their dad was the same way. Their dad had been really putting the mom through the ringer. And the mom, I think, also had 2 other divorces before that. So sometimes, you know, they say generational things get passed down. Sometimes they say like certain women in certain families end up having the same kind of issues where they keep divorcing, you know, or they get aggressive where they're fighting back and forth with their wives or their husbands or whatever. So some things can be really generational where people end up not having healthy relationships in their lives, you know what I mean? And they look at the mom, they look at the grandmas and all that, and it's the same kind of pattern. So in a way, when you watched him, you know, he had this look like somebody who was just being told what to do, and Tina had overpowered him over the years, and he was just like, okay, I'm going to sit back, I'm not going to say anything. But his actions were speaking. He was speaking that definitely he wanted out of this marriage a long time ago. But Tina, being that she's a Christian woman, you know, she's religious and stuff like that, I believe that they were against kind of divorce, you know. And so for him, it was kind of like, she was like, I think she also liked this guy more. That's a really big problem, guys. When you as a woman like a man more, it's a problem. You're always going to have issues. That's what they always tell you. Find a man that loves you a little bit more. I'm not saying to not love them or love them like, I wouldn't even say less, but just don't be all like, oh yeah, I love him all the way like up here, because it becomes a problem. You know what I mean? When a man loves you more, they give so much more of themselves. And when they say they choose you and you're the one they want to be with, they really mean that. But when it's the other way where you kind of had some influence in that, it never works out. You know what I mean? So this guy was really straight up like just a hot mess, disrespectful in so many ways, and after staying. So when you stay with a man after they do all this stuff, you're given the okay that they can overstep certain boundaries and you're okay with it. That's really how I feel about this. And it's just a perfect example of, you know, men's actions when they don't like you, when they don't want to be with you. They show it to you that they don't. There's always signs in their actions that they don't want to be with you. You know, I've seen a lot of women come on social media talking about how they realized that a lot of men that they were married to, that they were with, never loved them because they were doing all this stuff. One of the things was this, where the man would always walk really fast in front and leave them behind, didn't care if the door hit him or there was a stranger, you know, kidnapping them behind them. They just kept walking. They try to distance themselves. They forget like important events, like kids' birthdays and, their birthdays. And they would just say certain things, like sometimes, if they had a new hairstyle, the man would not even notice or compliment or anything like that. So over the years, all these things added up and they started mentioning that. So I believe that men always show you, they always show you with a lot of signs that they no longer want to be with you. And you have to pay attention to that and pack your bags the first time. So I feel like Tina, because she was religious and, a lot of Christians are like against marriage, against divorce, she stayed. But to me, when I heard the news, a lot of people are just really embarrassed for her. It's like, why did you wait until this is the guy that's doing the filing? It's clearly showing that he never wanted to be with you. And he's fed up with you and he's done. You know what I mean? Like, when somebody can just be with so many women to the point where it can't even count. And then he also had, I think, 2 kids in one of the relationships. Like, how much more, what more do you want? And then Tina was coming on and being kind of defensive about certain things. And, a lot of women were like, they're tired of Christian women coming on here and telling them about you shouldn't divorce and you should stick it out and pray it out. But it's like, how long do you do that? Do you continue to wait for somebody to disrespect you and do all this stuff and you don't leave? You know what I mean? Like, oh, marriage is for life. But it's for life if it's a healthy marriage. That's my belief. It has to be a healthy marriage. It cannot be for life and you're not happy. One of my favorite YouTubers, Auntie B, came on here announcing that she was leaving after 20 years. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, he's a Christian guy and doing all this. Why would you leave? People don't realize how important it is about your well-being, about your happiness. You know what I mean? If somebody's treating you badly and disrespecting you and just walking all over you, it's like, why stay? You know what I mean? Like, I just don't understand that. So the whole thing, I'm not over here like celebrating that it's a divorce, but a lot of people were just like, you know what? She should have been gone long time ago and left the guy, because the guy showed her in so many ways that he didn't want to be in the relationship. They were hanging on, for show. They were hanging on because they were religious, but it was just a matter of time, guys.